My name is Mel Wells. Actually, it's now Mel Brittler-Wells because I got married. And my company is Beefcake Swimwear. I was born in southeastern Idaho. I always tell folks, if you've seen Napoleon Dynamite, that was filmed like an hour from where I grew up. And I am a was a fifth generation Mormon. I was raised in a very, very Mormon family in the religion, like went to church every Sunday, like Utah, Idaho, Mormon. And then I went to BYU. I went on a mission to Belgium, and then figured out that I was queer because I kept having huge crushes on my companions. So I came back, finished BYU in Utah, and then left the church, moved to Portland in 2007, Portland, Oregon, and I've been here ever since. And so, yeah, so I've traveled around the West a lot, and I lived in Belgium for a year and a half, but I was a missionary when I was there, so my cultural experiences were limited. Once I got to Portland, it was like, whoa, new worlds. Yeah. I majored in English with an emphasis in editing at BYU, and then I have a master's in book publishing from Portland State University, but it's not what I do. It was helpful, but yeah. So I had all this training in book publishing. I worked at law offices through college because my dad was a lawyer. And then the economy crashed when I graduated, and there was this cool nonprofit that was hiring called Literary Arts. So I started there in July of 2010, and I am still there. So it's mostly nonprofit programming in youth programs, and it's really fun and really engaging. Does not pay super well, but is the people I work with are incredible, and the work is really meaningful. So that's why I've stayed there for 8 years. All kinds. The major work that we do is called Writers in the Schools. They do that all over the country, but we have like our own here in Portland, Oregon, where we hire writers, put them in public schools to teach creative writing in classrooms during school. We also do Verselandia, which is the all Portland Public High School Poetry Slam. That's actually this Thursday. And then I do the College Essay Mentoring Project. Sorry, I'm on a busy road. Where we bring volunteer mentors into the schools and they work with students one-on-one. That I find satisfying in like a social justice aspect. So I think that's everything we do. I don't know, it's like a 40+ hour a week job. It's big. Probably like tomboy femme, I'm definitely a lady, and I identify strongly with like women, not just cis women, of course, but I don't know, that is important to me. There was a slight moment where I was like, maybe I'm trans, and then I was like, no, I actually just want male power. That was an interesting moment, but no, I'd say like femme tomboy, definitely. It's sort of a jock, but really goofy. I don't know. Identify pretty strongly with lesbian. I use queer a lot. I think because I was raised in a really, really conservative culture, it took so much to come out that just using the most basic terms possible with my family. Like, they understand lesbian. They don't really understand queer. So that's usually what I go for. Whatever is clean. If I could wear black stretchy jeans and a black t-shirt every day for the rest of my life, I would be totally cool. Just something I can wear to work that's comfortable and it's actually pretty androgynous, I'd say. I'm a surfer, and so one-piece swimsuits are pretty important because, well, normally I'm in Portland, so I'm like neoprene head to toe, or in Oregon. But when I went on vacation, I tried surfing in a bikini, and I just got horrible rashes on my belly, and I was like, oh, that's what rash guards are for. And so trying to find a one-piece swimsuit that wasn't really girly was actually really hard. And I think this probably leads into some questions up next, but I started the idea of the company. I had the idea in about 2012 because I had a really good friend and a roommate who was always talking about how she wanted one of those like 1920s wool one-piece swimsuits. And she was trying to find one online, but like they were all tiny and old and you can't really swim in wool. I was like, oh, well, I sew because I'm a nerd and I grew up Mormon. So I'll try and make you one. I tried and it was awful. It was so hard to sew on stretchy fabric. But as I was doing it and complaining about it, a bunch of other folks were like, oh my gosh, I would totally wear that swimsuit. And so it suddenly started to be a kind of viable business idea that I just sort of was like, okay, when I get time. But it wasn't until I think 2014 that I finally felt ready to try doing this. And I read all the things because I'm a huge nerd, and figured out that I needed to find someone else to sew these because I was not going to do that. I just, nope, not my jam. So I started doing research and found somebody here in Portland who was an activewear manufacturer. They'd never done swimsuits. And they were like, this idea is so weird. But I was like, it's fine. I'm just going to put it on Kickstarter. We'll see if it works. And it raised over 300% of what we were trying to raise. And it just blew up. So that was really cool. And clearly it's something that a lot of folks want. So my mom's mom, so my great grandma, maternal side, had this old Singer sewing machine, and she taught my grandma how to sew. My grandma had the same machine. She taught my mom how to sew. My mom had the same machine. My mom taught me how to sew because I was really tall. I was 5'10" in 7th grade. And in like rural Idaho, trying to find clothes that fit a 5'10" girl in 7th grade is impossible. So a lot, especially dresses, and I had to wear dresses for church every Sunday, and the waist would like hit me at the boobs, you know, like it was horrible. So my mom started helping me sew my own clothes, and that was a skill that had like been in the family forever. And then when I graduated from, I think it was from college, my grandma found the same sewing machine that they all had, that same old Singer, on eBay and gave it to me. So it's sort of a like family tradition thing, and I still have it. It's so heavy and it's like industrial. Mostly what we make in my family is denim quilts out of everybody's old jeans. My grandma would do that for everybody when they were born, and I still have mine. But clothing was really challenging, especially stretchy clothing on like an old industrial machine. I was like, nope, not doing it. Like between 2012 and 2014, I have a bad memory, so I'm not totally sure. I renewed my business license and I've had it for 2 years. So April of 2015, no, 16. I think 2 years now. We've been like officially an LLC in Oregon. My wife and I were arguing about this in the car the other day. She's like, I totally gave you the name Beefcake. And I'm like, whatever, I had it before I even met you. What are you talking about? So who really knows? But the story that we've like figured out is that I think it came from another friend who was a roommate who would always talk. They were very like queer and masculine of center and always joked around about being the beefcake. And it was always very like tongue in cheek. And I wanted a name that was, had like strong queer roots without being like gay swimwear, you know? And so Beefcake has also kind of morphed into this like weightlifting and strength thing where like beefcake status is like swole and all of that. And it's kind of morphed away from the like male pinup, but it still has like pretty queer roots. And I really liked that. But I also liked the fact that it's kind of tongue in cheek, because if you go to our website and look at the models we used, none of us are swole. I think like Cooper, my friend, is like the one who like lifts weights. And so I just sort of love that idea of like, fuck it, we can all be beefcakes. You know, like it's more of a like sexy, strong state of being than it is necessarily the true meaning of the word. Right now the business model is don't be sold out, as we were for like 2 weeks. It's just me, and I'm just trying to figure it out on the side of this full-time job. So right now, I'm just trying to rein myself in and figure out how to do what we're currently doing the best way possible. So we just launched a new fabric, and that was a whole process. And I'd hoped to start doing new colors and patterns this spring, but it's not going to happen. Because also, one thing I didn't know until I started doing this is that storing inventory, well, creating inventory is expensive and storing inventory is expensive. We just moved into these shared offices last weekend, and I finally have like some big IKEA shelves with bins in them and everything is organized, and it's out of our tiny, tiny apartment because I kept picking up new swimsuits from my manufacturer and bringing them home, and my wife was like, if you bring home one more box, I'm going. It's like, okay. They were shoved in closets. There were boxes under the bed. And then like I'm shipping them out and we have this cat. So I'm like lint rollering every one because I'm so paranoid about shipping something with cat hair on it. So this is good. We're professionalizing. But yeah, it is a like evenings and weekends kind of deal. And so just trying to make it so I'm not having to loan myself money at any point, because I started this up with all of my savings and a little bit of credit cards at the end, because it took about 2 years and about $7,000 to get this thing off the ground. And that was mostly paying for a pattern maker, because I can't make patterns. I don't know how to do tech packs. I was learning everything on the fly. And we had to make prototypes of everything. And then I sent them to friends and had them fit test them. So we did a lot of work up until the Kickstarter. And that was expensive. And then just the day-to-day operations. Overhead is pretty low, but I still have to pay for this office. I have to pay for like, internet. We did a photo shoot with friends and I paid them in swimsuits. It's been seriously bootstrapped. So whenever folks are like, oh, will you do this new thing? Or, have you thought about this? I'm like, yeah, but like just keeping up with where we're at right now is a lot of work. I was here for about 6 hours yesterday fulfilling orders and I got to get back to surfing. I have got to figure out a way to make this sustainable so I don't just burn out and quit, Mm-hmm. Right now we offer mostly swimsuits. I have a little bit of pins and patches that we offer. I think I have some in my drawer. And these were just made as like Kickstarter incentives. So I have like a little heart and a little anchor, which is just the logo. And these are, I think they're like $7 or something. We have some patches. And then right now, we started out offering swimwear in 2 styles. The original, which is like the solid black, which is this one. And there's like little stripes. As well as the style that I call the Dreamboat. And that one is the striped top and solid bottom. We were doing the Kickstarter. We just started with black. That was it. 2 styles, 1 color, that's it. But I had thought about launching with a few more, so I decided to make that a stretch goal, and that is where the red and the blue came in. So this is a red original, and then the blue. I didn't really mean for it to be so like American. Those were the colors that were the most requested. So now we offer the 2 styles, the Dreamboat and the original, in 3 colors, red, black, and blue. And we used to offer a like shelf broad chest liner thing. And it was just a simple piece of fabric. I've sold them all out, so I don't even have any. It was just a simple piece of fabric across the front panel with a little strip of elastic, like underneath where the breast would be. And it worked okay, but it wasn't binding, and it didn't offer like a lot of lift. It just kind of covered your nipples. And for a lot of folks, I realized how different everyone's bodies are. The one takeaway from this whole endeavor has been everybody's body is different. And thank God these are stretchy, because it is really, really challenging. Fit is challenging. And so we learned that those just didn't work super well and people didn't really like the fabric. I mean, it was like, we're talking 85% great feedback, but I'm a perfectionist and that 15% who was unhappy was killing me. Mm-hmm. And I talked to our manufacturer and she was like, your returns are crazy low for what we were doing. But I felt like we could do better. So in April of this year now, we just switched to a new fabric. It's Italian milled. It's made from 100% recycled polyesters and extra long life Lycra. So it's more compressive. It offers better coverage. The old suits, if you wore them too small, when they stretch, they get, you could see the white, because we print, every suit is custom printed. It kind of looks like, paper dolls clothing a little bit, where they print it on this huge machine and then they cut it out with lasers and then sew them together. So we switched to a new fabric. It just holds better. It's got better color. The color is richer. It has better chlorine resistance. It's more environmentally friendly. It compresses better. It smooths out better, which people said that they wanted. And we decided to just line the entire front, because a few folks were like, oh, could you line the bottoms too? And we couldn't figure out how to put like a penis holder in there. Just unisex sizing. So we ditched the chest liner, and now we just line the entire front in the same fabric that we use. So it's just white. Color lining made the stripes look dingy. So we just left it white. And then, we also put a little strip of this like silicone stuff around the legs so that they don't ride up, because I hate it when my pants ride up. And especially when you're surfing, you don't want to be like on your board, like yanking it down all the time. So those are the specs. And this iteration of the swimsuit, I feel really, really confident about. And the feedback has been awesome so far. I've never envisioned this as something that would be my full-time job, because fashion is so risky. Like H&M could steal these designs tomorrow and make them for like, I don't know, $30. Mine are $99. Like, that is an expensive swimsuit, and I totally understand that. It cost me about $42 each to make a swimsuit. That price went up when we switched the fabric and started lining the whole front, but I'm trying so hard to keep it under $100. Just because I want it to be an accessible suit. And I think it's worth it. And I really hope that people love them, and I want them to be perfect, because I realize I'm asking folks to pay a lot of money for them. So I started at $85 because I was thinking maybe like I can give a little bit of a discount, and then it was $95, and I was like, oh, maybe I can sell them for $95, but then that was not really making sense, and so I bumped it up to $98. And it's the volume that I'm doing now. I think I can keep it at $99. If that volume drops, it's not going to work. Just because I have to order suits in batches of 100 to make them the 42. If I do fewer than that, it gets really expensive really fast. I've had to think about it a lot, because we've had a lot of requests for long sleeves. We've had requests for like built-in bust support, whether that's like underwire or like padding. And I think that I'm just gonna keep it simple and just focus on doing kind of like the outer layer, and then if you want to put like a binder or a real simple bikini top under it, kind of like you would a rash guard. Like, there's not rash guards with bust support in them. Like, it's just understood that you're gonna have to put a bikini top under it. And boobs, oh my God. Like, I love boobs. I'm a lesbian, it's great, but I do not want to make clothing for them. Like, making bras is so intense, and my manufacturer's already been like, no. If you want to do that, you need to find someone else. So I think I'm just going to stick with making what we make in great fabric, a ton of sizes. I would like to do some more colorways. I think some patterns would be really fun. I really want to stick to 1920s styles. I feel like that will help me not chase trends. Because there was a moment when I was like, oh, what if we did like a solid gold one? Like, it'd be really fun, but these are expensive enough to make and try that I can't really afford to chase trends right now. This may change. Maybe someday I'll like get venture funding, or I don't know, do all of that. It's terrifying, and I need to learn so much more before I go there. But I'm really trying to just stay focused on doing what we do and doing it well and keeping it simple. My work is about 2 blocks that way, my day job. So after work, I walk over here and I just hang out and like answer emails, try to catch up with whatever happened on social media that day, and package and ship swimsuits. My wife, God bless her, is my best unpaid consultant. She is always there to help bounce ideas off of, to help me figure out how to deal with customers sometimes, to remind me to have some work-life balance. And she totally did the photo shoot. She got all the models together, handled all the like release forms, handled getting everybody's sizes. She was amazing. So I can't say that I do this all alone, but most of the day-to-day is just me. Like when you email mel@beefcakeswimwear.com, hi. JLD Studios, which is here in Portland, in North Portland, they specialize in leggings. So I kind of like snuck in as a swimsuit maker, and I'm the only non-leggings person that they do. But I've been super grateful to them because they answer all my questions, like talk me through all of these things. Because I read enough that I kind of knew what I was doing, but they were like, oh, you don't want to piece the stripes in. We'll just print them. And I was like, oh, of course, that's amazing. And they have no minimums. So while doing 2 swimsuits is hella expensive, I can just do 2 of something if I want to experiment around. That said, I have people contact us sometimes being like, oh, will you make me a custom swimsuit? And I'm like, oh, do you have $2,500? And then they're like shocked, but it's a whole team there. They're professionals. They pay fair wages, which is really important to me. And so even just adding in the extra sizes, which I only went up to 3X in the Kickstarter and then expanded to 5X, that was several $100s to add 2 more sizes. So it is not for a lack of ideas that I don't do more. But I appreciate their professionalism. I appreciate their turnarounds. They're a really strong partner, and it feels like I have more of a team. Even though it's just, I order the fabric, have it shipped to them. They source the bindings and the silicone and things, and make them, and then give me a ring when they're ready to pick up. That was like, so towards the beginning, we had a Tumblr post that just went viral. This user, Rare Device, who has an awesome Tumblr, like posted about our suits, and it got shared like 30,000 times. It's been crazy. But so many of the comments were like, oh, these are so expensive. Like, why have you forsaken poor people? Like, I get that feedback sometimes on Twitter, and I'm like, I'm actually trying to not make more poor people by paying all the people involved in the making of a swimsuit. There's a really great documentary, and I have a whole post on my website about the true cost of making swimwear, because it was shocking to me. If I could make and sell these suits for $40, I'd do it tomorrow. Like, if I knew that I could make them and pay everyone along the way, I'd do it. Like, I'm not charging $99 so I can like buy a private jet. Like, I'm doing that so I like can pay taxes and pay for like the storage of this. I have not paid myself yet. I have paid off the debt I incurred to get here, but I've been working for 2 years and have not drawn a paycheck. So that's got to change. So there's this whole documentary called True Cost, The True Cost. I'm sure you've seen it. But I just flat out like put it in the blog post. So I was like, watch this documentary, because once you see the conditions that workers are in Bangladesh making your like $4.99 bikini at H&M, and I don't get me wrong, I still like shop at mainstream stores, but I'm trying to shift that. I'm trying to like in my own way pay more for clothing that is produced sustainably, because I think that the whole system is broken. And my hope is that people understand that, and who support Beefcake are also supporting a better system. And I hope these suits last a lot longer, because my goal is to make them better made as well and worth the $99. Wear once and then taught like not okay. And I grew up in a family of like, we weren't poor, but we didn't have a ton of money, and so like if your pants ripped, you patched them. Like, I literally 2 days ago was like putting in iron patches in my thighs, the night, because I was like, these are great except for these holes in the crotch, so I'll just put an iron and patch in them. And my wife was like, cool, babe. But just me, I'm like, why would I throw something out that is fine? I can fix it. And then I fixed her coat, and she was super happy about it. So honestly, because that's what my friend said she wanted. So I just started looking at 20 swimsuits, being like, oh, what did they look like? These are not totally true to that aesthetic, because those ones had that weird little skirt on them, which I didn't want to do. But the stripes, the stripe placements, the colors, there's a lot of museum exhibits that are online that you can access, and there's some beautiful patterns and colors in those, because you can't really find pictures of folks at the beach that are in color from the 1920s because they didn't have color photography. So the old swimsuits that have survived, those are the ones I like to look at, and those are the patterns that I have like in my head. Original did come from that suit that I tried to make, where I just got some stretchy, thick black swimsuit material, laid my favorite running shorts and my favorite tank top on top, traced in chalk, cut out, and then just basted together. And that was like as far as I got in the process before I was like, oh, this is not going to work. So I did bring in that suit when I was first meeting with my manufacturers and just kind of held it up and was like, this is what I'm thinking. And then they used that and pulled it apart and kind of used that to build the first pattern. I'm a Libra. I love fashion. I love beautiful things. And so, but I try really hard to listen to what people are requesting. I think we'll probably do another color first, like same patterns. I really want to do green. And then the patterns I have in mind and the inspiration I have are, there's a couple of things on Instagram. I use Instagram a lot, and I love the visuals. And there's a few pictures of old swimsuits that have really beautiful patterns on them. They're kind of girly though, so I do worry a little bit about that. And then, yeah, that's about it. There's one brand that I do keep an eye on, called SEA, SEEA, and they make these gorgeous long sleeve, kind of like with shorts, surf suits, they call them. And I think about that sometimes, but sleeves are not 1920s, and they're really hard to do. So as much as I'm like inspired and love those, I'm just trying to rein myself in. If something major comes up, maybe, but I couldn't find anything that looked like the 1920s online. You can find one-piece swimwear with little shorts on it. It's usually called a unitard. So if you just Google unitard swimwear, these come up in just solids. So the stripes is already something new. And maybe if something like a huge trend comes online, then maybe I would do something like that. My manufacturer was already like, it's spring, let's do something new. And I was like, maybe next year. I keep an eye on it. And if enough people ask for something, I'll try and do it. We'll see. One thing I would love to do would be a separate piece that is like a sports bra that is specifically made to go under these suits. But that I've already been told no by my manufacturer. So that's going to be like a whole process of going out and finding someone. So that would probably be the number one innovation on my mind. And I don't know, we may try it and see that there's too much variation in what folks want to even be able to do that right. Not really. Like I do try and keep some eye on what trends are, but again, just for my own sanity, just looking at photos from the 1920s and seeing what folks were wearing back then and what styles and patterns. And so if you know of any like really amazing 1920s style blogs, those are all friends and acquaintances, because I was doing this on a budget of nothing. So we hired a local photographer who is a queer woman of color, because that was really important to me. And so my wife and I searched around in Portland, got some recommendations, hired her, Renee Lopez. She was amazing, highly recommended. And then the models were friends, where we tried to be conscientious and like, not like check all the boxes, but like to be really intentional about making sure that everyone was a little bit different, and that it was really representative of different skin tones, different styles, different gender presentations, different body types. So I think we had folks in sizes medium through 4X in the photos. And we tried to, even little things like making sure that we had blues and reds and greens. And my wife did a fantastic job of that. And so far the feedback's been really, really positive that, and we didn't touch up any of the photos. Like I talked to the folks in them and I was like, so if you have like cellulite and stuff, are you gonna be mad if I don't like Photoshop you? And they were like they were making a funny face, you know, and then no. But my intention with the photos was to be diverse and fun and real so that a person could come to the website and see themselves, hopefully, at least a little bit, in someone that was on there. I think right now we're getting the most referrals from Facebook, just word of mouth, folks sharing on it. I don't really advertise. I'll like boost an Instagram post once in a while, but it got picked up a couple of times during the Kickstarter. One was this website or TV show, I'm still not totally sure, Right This Minute, where they took my Kickstarter video and like remixed it and like talked over it, kind of like it was like The View. It was so weird, but it blew up and I got a ton of orders from like Gladys in Wisconsin. So there's a couple, I feel like the younger, like queer community finds it like on Tumblr or Instagram, word of mouth. And then there's this whole like grandma contingency that is so sweet and lovely. And I think that they still mostly find me from like Right This Minute or Facebook. But it's been surprising and awesome to see how different everyone is. I've tried to dig in and like see who my ideal customer is. And I think that my Facebook, the algorithms are probably like, what? Like, who is this? Cause we've got orders from all over the world, all ages. I just got an email from a woman who's 78 and loves our swimsuits and is thrilled that we're making them. And then the next day I'll get someone who is masculine of center queer and wears like a 5X and is like, thank you for making something I feel comfortable in. It is a wild mix of folks coming from all over the place. Mm-hmm. Woman who was like, I can't support your brand because your name is porn. And I was like, did you forget to put the swimwear in when you Googled Beefcake? Because my mother-in-law did that. And she was like, I was like, you're welcome. I don't know, offensive to some people, but for me, I just wanted to be really authentic of like, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm trying to do. If you object to this, don't wear my swimsuits, and I'm fine with that. Like, if you don't like queer people, don't shop here. And that's fine with me. Like, I don't know. You can believe what you want to believe and support what you want to support. But if you want a cute swimsuit, you gotta support a gay lady. I think it's really important for sharing. And I'm so bad at Twitter. I didn't even have a Twitter account really. Like I had one, but I never posted on it until this. And now I have to have one. I feel like I need to have a bunch of ways for people to access me, but I struggle with the Twitter. I'm such a grandma. And Facebook has been, I have really mixed feelings about Facebook, especially with all the recent dirt that's come out about how they've been harvesting people's information. And I have strong negative feelings about Facebook, but I also recognize that as a business owner who does need to get the word out in affordable ways, it's kind of the beast you can't avoid. And I try to be pretty responsive, but it ends up being nights and weekends. Because I have a job that I care about. And so it's important, but I could probably do better at it. And I was recently asking my wife, I was like, so can I hire you to do social media? So I'm not real great at it, but it's necessary. We've done it. It's this crazy idea worked. I still, like, back when we were at the apartment and I'd be like packaging up swimsuits on our kitchen table every night, just being like, talking to my wife, being like, did you ever think you were gonna like marry a swimsuit company owner? It's so weird and fun, and like, it's been a really good challenge. But the absolute best part is getting emails or, God, I wish I had the postcard with me. A woman sent me a photo and she's like clearly an older lady and she was like taking a selfie with a film camera in the bathroom And she like just wrote on the back, like, I love my swimsuit. Thank you so much. And she had like white hair and like, you know, it was like a fucking grandma selfie that she's thrilled. And I got that like the day after I'd gotten like a snarky email or something. And I just put it above my desk and was like, this is why you're doing this. Cause like I said, I'm not in this to make money, clearly. I need to figure out how to make it more sustainable, but that feedback of having people feel comfortable and excited about being active, that's my main motivation. And those emails are the best. Shouldn't have been, now that I think about it, because I think part of the struggle, and there's also like a whole like modesty contingent, which I have mixed feelings about, having grown up in like conservative modesty oriented culture. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I understand that you like that and you think it's important. But it shouldn't have been surprising because most of those swimsuits are so feminine that if you are at all not, and I like identify as a woman, I identify as a lesbian, but I'm not super feminine, there's not a lot of options for that are also kind of stylish. It's either floral with a skirt or like utilitarian Speedo unitard, you know? So I think that gap, which wasn't apparent to me, exists. I'm sure other people are going to come in and try and fill that too. I hope that I've done a really good job of listening to people and responding to them and trying to fill needs. Like they asked for more colors, I did more colors. They asked for better fabric, I've done a better fabric. They asked for more sizes, I've done more sizes. So I think that we've been really responsive, and I hope that we can keep that up. Yeah, you know, I debated with that for a long time, and even like writing the main copy on the website, I was like, what are we? What's our identity? And for me, I wanted to leave it as open as possible to be, you don't have to be queer to wear this. Like, that's why we started. That's who owns this. It's sort of like queer people have been shopping in straight identified brands forever. So why couldn't straight people shop in a queer identified brand for once? So I'd say that we're like queer centered. Like when someone who is queer sends me a query or asks, like, my responses are different. Like if I can tell that, you know, like I'm like, oh, hey family, like, yes, I'll work, you know, like we'll figure this out, you know. And so I'm biased towards queer people. So I would say, yeah, it's a queer focused brand. But you know, there was a question here about what was surprising about identifying as a queer brand. And like the most disheartening thing was feedback like, why are you being prescriptive about what queer people should wear? And that really took me back because I was like, I didn't think, like, I'm not saying if you're queer, you have to wear the swimsuit. That was so weird to me. And so that made me tweak the language slightly. Or like I feel like the queer community is probably not in many ways as well off as straight community. Like, I think that's just like a fact. And so the feedback about how expensive they were was really difficult for me because I hear that and I understand it, and it's such a struggle, you know, and I still feel like guilty for charging a fair price, you know. So that was like really challenging, and like there have been hurtful comments too about like, you know, like, who are you, this like straight looking white lady, to be like, oh, this is what the queer community should wear. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to should on anybody, you know, like I'm just trying to give an option, but be like really honest, this is who I am. I had this dude who contacted me who was from some big name agency and wanted us to like put his company logo on our swimsuits, and you know, so that he could like use them at this big fancy party with all these fancy sponsors. And I had so much fun telling him no. I love telling straight white men no. And my wife was like, no one's going to email Target asking for this. Like, yeah. And he was being so condescending that I wrote on Facebook and I was like, so what should our customer service white dude name be? Should we name him Brent? Should we name him Cliff? Like, there's that company, the ladies who made up the false male um, co-founder because they were so tired of dealing with men.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a moment where, like, even if it's not really Brad, there might be a Brad at Beefcake at some points. Like I said, the like weirdly personal criticism, for me, I'm also like a super sensitive person. That has been really hard to deal with. Just time. It is so time consuming. And balancing my desire for like growth and creativity and pushing this brand forward, but also balancing like doing what we're doing well, is challenging. Uh, yeah. Emails from women who are like badass swimmers who are like, this is the best swimsuit I've swum in years. That was awesome. Just mostly people who struggle with body dysphoria that send emails that are really, really positive or really awesome. Even I mean, when I'm honest, the criticism has been so limited compared to how many swimsuits we've sent out. We sent out, I think, 450 last year, and we're at about 400 or 500 this year. Which, if you know how much they cost, you now know all my finances. Um, but out of those, I mean, almost 1,000 swimsuits now. We've had maybe 25 exchanges and probably the same number of returns. I mean, it's really small, and I think it's below industry averages. So, and the positive feedback is almost every day. I get an email that's like, "This is awesome, thank you." Clothing is expensive and margins are small, and make sure you really want to do this before you do it. Like, small one lesson. my my mother-in-law was like, "You guys are gonna be millionaires," and I was like, "Cute, cute." I'll tell you when I get paid. Yeah, I'm really excited that the new swimsuit is made from recycled material. I think that's really cool, and it's a few folks were like, "Well, why don't you get U.S. made material?" And I was like, "If you can find me some,
Mm-hmm.
gladly." But most fabrics are coming from overseas, and you're either going to choose somewhere in Asia or somewhere in Europe. And Italy seemed, again, it's just a question of like time and resources. But we when we were doing the photo shoot, we were approached by a woman who works with queer homeless youth, and she was like, "These suits are amazing. We should work together somehow." I would love at some point to build in some sort of like, I don't know, 5% of profits or swimsuits go to like helping teens with gender dysphoria, like something. And like, if, again, I'm really responsive if someone emails me and is explaining that like I had a mom who has like a trans son, and they like were looking for swimwear and couldn't really pay full price, and they're like, give them a discount code, like things like that, where I do what I can. Most frustrating thing to me is when corporations brag about how like all of their like giving, when you look at their budget of giving compared, and I work at a nonprofit, so like I also have a different view. But their corporate giving is so tiny compared to how much they talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is frustrating. And that's more like from a nonprofit perspective. And they view giving to nonprofits as like they want returns on it in this weird way. I don't know. I have a lot of opinions about like corporations. I mean, even H&M, who like they're taking back all these clothes, but when you ask them what they do with it, they were like, "Oh, a bunch of them go to incinerators in Sweden or something." Like, I'm probably getting it wrong, but it was like, "Oh, we burn a bunch for fuel," and I'm like, "Burning clothing, is that a sustainable?" So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like things get really greenwashed in corporate giving, and I don't know. I don't want to do that. I'm a big admirer of Wild Fang.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally around the corner, and I go to their storytelling, and I've met their founder and stuff, and they seem to do really cool work around giving back 10% or like donating proceeds to different groups. So they seem to be doing good work. It's possible. I don't think so. I mean, it is a journey, and like I am learning every day on how to do this, and I do hope that people feel like it is a company that cares about them as human beings. I'm not just out to make sales, you know, like I really wanted to like put a product in the world that um, helps the environment or to people and is inclusive and helps them be active.
Mhm.
That's my main goal. I've watched a lot of career companies go under, and that's been sobering. Um, like the St. Meriden, I think, was the most recent. That was hard to lose such a cool company. So it's scary. So for me, it's how do I keep doing well and make it work for the near and far future?